Yep.
when you were younger. Can I ask what was going on at that time?
Yeah.
Experience you're referring to?
The earliest experience was somebody came and harmed my mom with me in the house with her
Okay.
when I earlier than I can remember.
Okay. Was that someone that you guys didn't know?
No, apparently it was somebody that she knew that was already expressing or revealing that she should stay cautious or distant.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Can I ask, was this like a physical assault or was
Yep.
it a sexual assault?
Both.
Okay. You said that was the earliest one. So you did you continue to have issues kind
All the
of
way up until I just called you today.
constantly?
Yep.
Okay.
My cousin, you know, maybe the same year, maybe a year later, you know, had a pretty horrific experience with, you know,
Okay.
his parents.
Oh, okay. Were you yourself ever the survivor of a situation like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not physical, but sexual.
Sexual. Okay. How old were you?
Hmm. How old was I? 6,
Okay.
7 maybe.
I'm so sorry that you went through that, especially at such a young age.
Yep.
Was that, I mean, I guess a situation like that never totally gets resolved, but I mean, was it addressed in any way? Like, were you able to tell family?
That's why everybody keep a distance from me now. I mean, ultimately, you know, I wasn't the only one experiencing that in different kinds of
Okay.
ways. It's all around that time.
Did it come out like close to the time that the assault happened, or was it as an
No,
adult?
I know it ain't never came out.
Or did,
Everybody just been telling me about it all these years. Cause I'm the one that everybody talk to. I'm the one that listen, and I'm trying to figure out how to, you know, deal with what all of it's done to me more than I'm trying to figure out
okay.
what other people gonna do. But the reality is, it's been happening to my whole environment since it started, and it ain't, yeah.
Okay.
So I've been creating.
Okay, that's a lot.
When I got to college and I went and taking pictures and what's your voice and what do you have to say and what are you not saying and figuring it out and me feeling like I couldn't figure out what it was that I wasn't saying being out of town. And then I was required to write an artist statement. And in me trying to write an artist statement, I had a friend who had a wife and I started to have conversation with her about my experience. And eventually in those conversations, it got all the way down to what we talking about right now. And that's when I
Yeah.
realized that that was the stuff that I wasn't saying. So I spent time trying to figure out or imagine how it could ever even be said. So I kind of took some time to try to have conversation, one on one, kind of in private with the people who had already been telling me what they had been experiencing. And in doing that, um, I kind of ruffled, the environment unintentionally. And
Okay.
in me ruffling the environment of our kind of nucleus and family and all that, I took responsibility for ruffling the environment and kind of made sure that I kind of let up. But ultimately, I guess when I was letting up on other situations, I was also letting up. Well, was I letting up on my situation? No, not at all. I've never let up on me getting closer to, some level of peace with these situations and not even resolution as much as it's kind of like I'm a trained artist who've been taught that, part of my work is the experience that I'm having. So there's a level of excitement every time I get closer to being able to actually articulate how I'm feeling, you know, for me, the focus being creatively because, I kind of been trained in the art world to understand that the artist that makes it, quote unquote, or gets the opportunity, quote unquote, is the one who has the ability to communicate, these types of parts of themselves. So it's weird.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like I'm healing myself in an environment that is impossible for the people to be able to heal.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
I
and
would
it's
just
no more
encourage it
complicated than that.
to be careful. Trauma is a sticky thing, and often if you're not working through it with a professional, it can be really triggering, and it could, send you on some sort of spiral. Um, it's definitely art is such a great way to channel some of this stuff, but just you got to be mindful to kind of
Well,
what
I've
you're
been
going with
overly
it.
mind I've been too mindful, and I would argue that in me being too mindful, I hadn't been being mindful enough to myself. So I would argue that what I'm experiencing is being overly cautious to the people around me to the point where it's affecting me in ways that it doesn't have to.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Would you be open to getting relinked with a counselor? I mean, I know you had kind of an iffy experience with that guy before.
Yeah, I would be interested.
It,
I would be interested in being linked with a counselor at an art therapy
mhm,
setup or situation. I kind of would be very, very comfortable being in conversation with a couple colleagues that I've done projects with, indirectly learning that a couple of these art therapy places exist. I can't remember the names, but that's what I'm saying. I'm a very, very busy artist in the community. And when I learned that this organization existed and when I had to interview their director, I saw myself as uh, wanting to be um, engaged with by this place or places like it.
what's the name of the place you're referring to?
Is it Fair
Very,
Fair Hill
very.
Properties? They're in there,
Oh,
but I
I'm
can't
not
remember.
sure.
But it's the lady she on the documentary. It's easy to find her because
Mm.
her name and title come up on my documentary that I got on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
I can find it, find her exact name and the place. Um, but yeah,
Nice, Jill. I was just curious.
oh yeah, I can't remember the name of it. But I remember after I interviewed her, I asked her if she would be interested in having a conversation with me. So, and she said yeah, but I didn't move on it, or it kind of it didn't go away because I am actively always thinking about being in conversation in the direction of art therapy. Um, for
Okay.
a lot of different reasons, I find myself engaging with a lot of people who are experiencing the things that I'm experiencing, is why I'm feeling like that's probably what makes my work effective as a tool when I'm engaging other people in
Yeah.
kind of artistic practice. And then, i.e., in turn, it's been providing a similar thing for myself. So it's been easy for me to, continue to do it and learn how to not have to stop doing it.